Hey there and welcome to RPG Time. Today I'm covering one of my most anticipated games of this year, Silent Hill F. I'm a massive fan of the OG games and the recent Silent Hill 2 remake. It's safe to say that while this entry is a lot different than previous games gameplay-wise, it still very much has the spirit of Silent Hill in it. Without any more delay, let's get into the game, flaws and all. Also, spoilers ahead for all the endings and the entire story, so if you're not okay with that, play the game then come back. And also, warning, I don't speak Japanese. I can't really pronounce Japanese names well. I'm probably going to butcher some things like the town name. And some of the names, it's just going to sound stupid. So I'm just warning you guys right now. Now let's get into it. High school student Hinako Shimizu lives in the rural Japanese town of Ibigosaka during the 1960s. She resents her parents as her mother is subservient to her abusive father, while her older sister Junko has left home after getting married. After an argument with her parents, Hinako meets up with her friends, Shu, Rinko, and Sakuko, to which Shu gives Hinako red capsules to help with her intense tension headaches. A monster suddenly appears, engulfing Ibigosaka in fog and red spider lilies, which seemingly kills Sakuko. Hinako escapes, but Ibigosaka has become overrun by monsters. After wandering the town for a bit, Hinako returns to the general store and lays Sakuko's body to rest in the general store. After fighting some monsters, Hinako loses consciousness and awakens in an otherworld environment known as the Dark Shrine, where she encounters a man called Fox Mask. Despite Fox Mask guiding and caring for her, she is continuously warned not to trust him. After awakening in Ibigosaka, which has become almost entirely deserted, Hinako reunites with Shu and Rinku. As the bridge leading out of town is broken, the three plan to escape through a mountain path behind Shu's house.
Well, we can't use the bridge, but we can still take the highway.
Past the mountain, behind your house.
Throughout their journey, Hinako travels back to the Dark Shrine whenever she loses consciousness or sleeps, and continues to follow Fox Mask while there. Fox Mask convinces Hinako to kill Shu, Rinko, and Sakuko to let go of her childhood.
Do you hear me? Why don't you say something?
Additionally, Hinako participates in 3 rituals. Her right arm is severed and replaced with a fox arm, her back is branded with a hot iron, and the top half of her face is sliced off and replaced with a fox mask. When Hinako awakens in Ibugosaka, Shu and Rinko have left her, and she eventually reaches Shu's home alone. Her mother phones her to come home for dinner, while Junko asks her to make a decision soon.
This will be the last time I repeat myself. You must decide your future. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. The decision is yours, and yours alone.
When Hinako returns home, she faces multiple memories of her past, including her relationships with her friends and family, as well as her fear of growing up and getting married. In addition, multiple playthroughs of the game reveal that she is in an arranged marriage with Fox Maska's true identity, Tsuneki Kotoyoki. Hinako's identities in Ibugosaka and the Dark Shrine soon converge when her fox self kills her parents, while her human self seeks revenge. Her fox self kills her human self under Junko's orders.
Come on. This is for your own good. Now die.
As Hinako's marriage ceremony begins in the Dark Shrine, her human self awakens and confronts her fox self. Alright, so Silent Hill F has 5 endings, and this is a point where it splits off into the 5 endings. Starting with the first ending, which is called Coming Home to Roast. This is the only available ending on the first playthrough. Hinako's human self defeats her fox self and she rejects the marriage, but she begins panicking and overdosing on the red capsules. It is later revealed that the events of the game were a psychotic episode induced by the red capsules, and Hinako is a woman in her 20s who is on the run for killing several people at her wedding ceremony.
We've got 2 male victims here. Same female suspect as in the wedding massacre on Route 8. One victim is currently in cardiac arrest.
Kagerocho 1 to HQ. We haven't found the knife used by the suspect at the scene. Chances are good that it's still in the suspect's possession. Better consider her armed. Over.
Attention all apartments. This is HQ. Female suspect is in her 20s and wearing a wedding dress. Height is a little over 160 centimeters. Last seen fleeing Tsuneyoshi Shrine. Believed to be armed and highly dangerous. Exercise extreme caution.
Come in, HQ. This is Kagerocho 1. It appears the suspect was observed consuming red and white capsules at the scene of the crime.
Kagerocho 1, this is HQ. Did the capsules match the ones discovered at the wedding venue? Over.
HQ, this is Kagerocho 1. Affirmative. Collected capsules that the suspect brought to you.
Next, we have the second ending called The Fox's Wedding. In this ending, Hinako's human self is destroyed by Fox Mask, and Shu tries to stop her wedding to Kotoyoki, confessing to Hinako that he gave her the red capsules to bring her to her senses. Hinako beats Shu in battle, causing Shu to relent and become friends with Kotoyoki. Hinako marries Kotoyoki at the cost of her freedom.
俺はダメな男だ。笑って祝福するつもりでいたんだ。でもできなかった。それどころか俺はお前に薬と偽って
れは
内なる自分と対話できる薬だが体質によっては非常に危険な薬だ。俺の相棒あんたにしばらく預けるぜ。
しばらくのつもりはないのだろ
う。俺の雛子を不幸にしたら100発殴ってやるからな。
雛子は私のものだ。もはや君のものではないね。
いいや、俺の相棒なんだから俺のだ。貸してるだけだ。
人を物扱いするな。
そろそろ中に入ろう。肩を冷やす。
はい。
The third ending is called The Fox Wets Its Tail. Hinako's human self defeats her fox self, and she rejects Koryoki, who becomes enraged. Hinako defeats him and returns to Ibigosaku with Shu. A radio broadcast later reveals the whole town was evacuated due to volcanic activity.
お前と宇宙戦争ごっこで遊んだことを思い出した。だからお前は俺と雛子の戦友だ。
早く行くといい。私が宇宙人の役になって君を食べてしまうこともできるのだからね。
また会おう、戦友。
男なら引き際も大事か。
大丈夫か？
ありがとう。シュウが助けてくれなかったら私は自分の勇気を保てなかった。
逆だろ。お前が自分の勇気を出したからこそ俺はお前を助けようと思ったんだぜ。
その勇気を持つのに時間をかけすぎて大勢に迷惑をかけた。
そのためにお前が自分の人生を諦めなくちゃならないってのは俺はおかしいと思うぜ。
ありがとう相棒。それにしてもお前ネクタイ似合わないな。
うっせえ、お前だってそれ似合ってね
うっせえ。
水柱は高さ50メートルにまで
Fourth ending is Ebigo Sokka in Silence, available after completing at least 2 of the endings above. Hinako's human and fox selves reconcile. Koteoki's ancestor appears, revealing that Koteoki was forced to wed Hinako to preserve the Fox clan. Both of Hinako's selves defeat Koteoki's ancestor and the spirit possessing her doll, revealed to be a representative of a rival pantheon that wishes Hinako to remain free, even if it destroys her mind through the use of red capsules. Freeing Koteoki from his ancestor's possession and lifting the curse on the town, Hinako's selves and Koteoki annul their marriage, while both of Hinako's identities returning to Ebigo Sokka and Koteoki moving away. The two promise that they will meet again in the future to restart their relationship.
私は君に全てを与えたつもりで、君が一番欲していたものに気づけなかった。私も君と同じものが欲しくなったのだ。君への愛は酔狂なまじないによって生み出されたものではないと。行きなさい。
もし私たちへの愛が本物だったなら、また会いましょう。私たちもしっかり悩んで答えを用意しておきます。私たちの人生どんな風に生きようね。琴雪さんみたいに生きてみたい。誰かをものすごく好きになって、その人のためにものすごく努力して、情熱のすべてを注ぎ込むような一途で一生懸命な生き方をしてみたい。今度は私から琴雪さんに求婚するくらいの勢いで一生懸命に。私はまだ決まってないけど、とにかく何かに一生懸命に。何それ。ここは静かだね。誰も邪魔しない、せかさない。いるのは私たちだけ。私たちだけで行く末を決められる。
So there is one joke ending in the game. It's a UFO ending. It's called the Great Space Invasion. It ends the game pretty quickly after you find all the stuff for it. And it's just like a little motion manga where it's revealed that like Sakuko made the fog monster as like an alien detector, and that the Sakuko that died on like the park bench was actually like an alien, and then they just leave. It has some jokes in it. It's okay. It's not the best joke ending, I'll say that, but it's not the worst either. Better than nothing.
本人のふりをしている宇宙人かもしれない。
私は宇宙人じゃない。見破る方法はあるのか。あ
悪いよ。
あんた死んだはずじゃん。そいつにやられて。
この子は私が作った対宇宙人決戦用人型サーチ&デストロイロボのロボコちゃん。この子は人間に化けた宇宙人を見つけて自動で駆除してくれるの。バッテリー切れね。
じゃあそいつに殺されたあの咲子は宇宙人？
私そいつに追いかけ回されたんだけど。
ひな子に宇宙人の匂いがついてたみたい。ひな子が宇宙人かもしれないし、ひな子の身近な友人が宇宙人かもしれない。あいつらは記憶までコピーする。でも完璧じゃないな。ひな子、何か自分しか知らない秘密を話して。
リンコはシュウの髪の毛を集めて自分の枕に入れてたことがある。いやー、そういうのをまじないで夢くらい見たっていいでしょ。
次、リンコ。
ひな子は林間学校でパンツを脱衣所に忘れて名乗り出られなかったことがある。リンコ、地獄の炎で焼かれろ。
このパンツは誰のだって先生が呼びかけるけどさ、あれ名乗り出られるわけないよな。
昭和ってプライバシーなかったからね。
リンコは体育を休んだ時にシュウの脱いだ服を。ひな子はシュウと喧嘩した次の日にシュウのリコーダーに。
俺宇宙人より女子の方が怖えよ。
それまでお互いの記憶に間違いはないようだね。じゃあ次は私たちだね。シュウは青年誌のグラビアページをスクラップしてて本棚の裏に隠してる。水着ポスターにクラスの女子の顔写真を貼り付けたことがある。
待て待て、分かった。じゃあ今度は俺の番だ。咲子がブラをつけ始めたのは小6の新学期から。ひな子と凛子は小5の夏休み明けだ。どうだ。
宇宙人ではなかったけれど女の敵はあぶり出せたようね。
ひなこや、お家に帰るよ。
宇宙人は大丈夫？
町内会の人たちがみんなやっつけてくれたぞ。
じゃあね
ー。また明日。
今夜はね、ひなこの大好きなハンバーグだよ。
それお姉ちゃんの好物だってば。
So for this video, I'm going to analyze the story and then give my thoughts about it, since this is by far the most abstract Silent Hill game and I have a decent amount to say about it. Now, I think the story is great. I loved how insane the twist was. I was genuinely convinced that the fox mask was some sort of demon, taking over Hinako's mind in this dream world, while the town was becoming corrupted by this strange plague. So you can imagine that once I found out that the dream world was portraying an abstract version of reality when Hinako was an adult getting married, while the events I thought were real were a lucid dream caused by the red and white capsules she was giving her. It took me by surprise. Once you know this, though, the story makes so much more sense. The pills were some sort of mystic psychedelic, which were causing her to reflect on her past and her friends, while also bringing things she knew subconsciously but not consciously to the surface, like her feelings for Shu, and Rinko's jealousy and hatred for her. The day she hallucinates while dreaming is the day she ran away from home, because her father wanted to marry her off so he could get money to pay off his debt, but instead of showing her run away like she actually did that day, this plague in her adult self, represented by the fog monster, begins to invade town, killing her friends and everything she loves. The plague represents her marriage and her transition into adulthood, which is destroying her old teenage self and her memories. This is because Hinako does not really want to get married. She ran away to get away from an arranged marriage. that is implied to be Fox Mask. Then, after she ran away, she ended up in the very same role she was running from. She feels that the marriage will erase her identity, represented by the plague invading her memories and killing her friends, and her old teenage self. Of course, the whole reason Hinako is in the marriage is due to the Fox Mask's family performing a ritual allowing their child to be possessed by a fox deity to marry a girl with high spiritual powers to appease the gods and bring prosperity, which is evident from all the lore you can find about it in the first playthrough and especially in New Game Plus. And the scene where the fox bites him as a boy, representing him getting possessed by the deity, as well as the other endings where you see and fight the fox deity as well. I'm getting off track though, since the fox deity and the ritual has nothing to do with what the dream represents to Hinako, which is her identity being erased by marriage. Getting back into analyzing the dream, it had been 2 years since she ran away as well, which is why she has all these unresolved feelings and memories of her old life and friends, which were further exacerbated from the psychedelics Shu was giving her to help with her headaches. There are also radios and notes with her friends talking to her adult self about the marriage, present in the dream, such as a note in Shu's shed or Sakuko's radio messages, which don't make sense until you figure out that teenage Hinako's reality is a dream. I also need to mention Hinako's feelings that she abandoned and failed Sakuko as a friend, which is shown for how Sakuko appears in the dream world, constantly calling Hinako a traitor. Everything in the dream is things Hinako didn't resolve before she ran away, or things she knew subconsciously, but was simply never addressed, which she still thought about, like her knowing Rinko loved Shu and hated her, how Sakuko thought she was a traitor for running away, her relationship with her parents, and how she had feelings for Shu. Now I am done talking about the dream sections. Let's analyze the abstract version of reality. So the sections with Fox Mask, otherwise known as the Dark Shrine sections, represent her in the days leading up to her marriage, and on the marriage day. The sections where Hinako kills her friends symbolizes her having to let go of Rinko, Sakuko, and Shu before going through with the wedding, while each of the brutal rituals you see Hinako do, like cutting her arm off, her back getting branded, and her face getting cut off, each represent how her old identity is getting replaced with one her husband, Fox Mask, desires, transforming her into his perfect wife, symbolized by her arm and her face getting replaced by a fox arm and fox mask. Throughout these sections in the first playthrough and in New Game Plus is where most of the lore regarding Fox Mask's family, the fox possessions, and the ritual the family did can be found. I theorize that during these segments, Hinako is actually wandering around the Fox Mask family's estate, and that's why there's parts like the library and various notes regarding the history of the family can be found. So the doll that constantly warns Hinako about Fox Mask, I thought was herself at first, and I thought it was herself like her own doubts and paranoia about the wedding, but one of the endings actually says it's some type of strange spirit that wants her to go back to her teenage self no matter what. It's odd, I don't quite understand it. I think the words they use for it is pantheon. Yeah. So the undead version of Junko, seen in both the abstract reality and the dream world, represents her desire to force herself to conform to society and become the perfect wife. Now, each of the endings aside from the UFO one, which I enjoyed, each represents different ways the story could turn out negatively, with the first ending you get being the absolute worst, since Hinako just goes mental from taking all the pills and has a psychotic break, then goes on a massacre on her wedding, ending with her going back to her parents' house and killing them. The second ending is what happens if she doesn't go crazy from the pills and ends up with Fox Mask. It shows her confronting Shu for wanting to stop their marriage on their wedding day. Shu reveals that he gave Hinako the red and white capsules to make her reflect on and stop the wedding. After fighting Shu, she ends up with Fox Mask, which is still not a good ending because it's not really what she wants, but I'd say it's better than the third ending, which is next. The third ending shows her breaking off the marriage and then running off with Shu after fighting the fox deity. Afterwards, it shows that Hinako's hometown of Epikosaka was evacuated due to volcanic activity, implying the fox deity did so because Hinako was not married. I think this is worse than the fox mass ending, since yeah, she gets out the marriage caused by the ritual, but then ends up with Shu, who does some strange shit like drugging her with dangerous psychedelic drugs. She also is still stunted in a way and never really matures either. Instead, she just ends up with another guy that's honestly worse than Foss Mass in a lot of ways. With the fourth ending, which I think is the canon ending, and is definitely the best ending, Hinako makes peace with her inner selves. She stops the marriage, confronts the deity possessing Fox Mask, doesn't go with Shu, and ends up independent while her and Fox Mask spend time apart to figure out themselves and if their love is a product of actual love or just a result of a strange ritual to appease the fox deities. Each of the endings also has different end bosses relating to the themes and ending you get. The first ending is Hinako's adult self. The second is a corrupted form of Shu. The third is Fox Deity. The fourth is both the Fox Deity and the corrupted form of Shu. Now I am done with the analysis. I could go even more in depth, but I think I made my point and made it clear. Moving on to the review. Like I said before, I think the story is great. It has a surprising amount of depth to it. The symbolism with the worlds and enemies is great. The foreshadowing is good. The twists are amazing. And I loved how the first playthrough of the game completely misleads the player into interpreting the story the wrong way, until the very end where it drops a twist on you. The story isn't perfect though. Let's talk about my problems with it. Some of the stuff, like the Fox Deity plotline, could have been done better. The game could have dived more into Hinako's mind as well, like showing more of her childhood, which would have fleshed out the plot more. I also think that the game needed to explain how Hinako was spiritually gifted more, since I found it odd how she was chosen by the Fox Deity and not Sakuko, who is implied to be able to communicate with spirits in the journal. But I guess seeing these strange dreams with the drug could be an indication of spiritual power, as well as the ability to resist the Fox Deity. That's it for my problems with the story. I thought everything else was pretty good. I know it's probably going to be a very divisive story in the Silent Hill community, but I enjoyed it a lot. It was a mature and well done plot that was executed well. The gameplay is by far the weakest part of the game, while the story is the strongest. The combat is alright. It reminds me of Dark Souls or Elden Ring. It's very centered around managing your stamina, timing your counters, and dodging, as well as the Onamaris and stat upgrades. You can hit with light attacks or heavy attacks, with the light attacks being fast, consuming less stamina and dealing less damage, while the heavy attacks are slow, consume more stamina, have a chance to stun the enemy, and deal more damage. You can only hit counters by using heavy attacks once the enemy flashes, indicating you can counter them. The windows you must counter enemies are tight, often after specific attack animations. You can extend them by using focus, which also allows you to charge up a focus attack to deal extra damage. Counters deal massive damage and stun the enemy, so you can kill most enemies quickly if you properly counter them. That's harder than it sounds though, especially with those stupid creep monsters that constantly pounce on you. The enemies hit hard too. They can kill you quickly if you aren't dodging. Dodging is very vital, and if you do a perfect dodge, which is dodging right before they do the attack animation, your stamina bar refills. Stamina depletes when you attack or dodge. The amount it depletes by varies with the type of attack, and dodging depletes stamina pretty fast, so you can't keep dodging repeatedly to get away from enemies. This is where managing your stamina comes into play. You need to dodge effectively, counter, and punish the enemies when they're in between attacks. Of course, if you get good at doing perfect dodges, stamina management is very easy. Now let's talk about sanity. Focusing too long on enemies decreases sanity, which is indicated by the sanity bar. Once sanity is low, you're more vulnerable to psychological attacks, which also decrease sanity, and your health can even decrease if sanity is critically low. Honestly, this feels like a mechanic solely to make the player not abuse focus mode and focus attacks, which I don't even find that useful to begin with, so it feels pretty unnecessary and there's no actual cool effects to getting low sanity. It would have been awesome if the game messed with you like Eternal Darkness does with its sanity mechanic. There are some additions to mechanics depending on the mode you're playing on. Like in hard mode, if you're focusing and an enemy attacks, you lose sanity, which is whatever, it just makes the game more hard. Moving on, there are various weapons which can be light or heavy. Light weapons are faster, deal less damage, and consume less stamina, while heavy weapons are slower, deal more damage, and consume more stamina. Heavy weapons are better in the end game and aren't found till later in the game. You can also charge the heavy attacks more while using heavy weapons to deal extra damage. It's slow as hell though and barely comes into use. You can carry 3 weapons at a time and switch between them easily. Weapons also have durability, so they can break over time. There's a bar that tells you the durability, and you can find toolkits around the map to repair weapons. It's a lame mechanic, and I wish durability wasn't a thing. I'm glad you can carry 3 weapons at a time, and that the weapons can be found easily throughout the map though. It makes the durability mechanic bearable. If you really aren't careful though, you can end up without a weapon, so watch durability, especially if you're fighting lots of enemies. There are various stat upgrades you can get to make combat easier, with these items called EMA, which you find around the map rarely, and faith points, which you get for enshrining items, which is basically selling them for faith points at save points. Some items are specifically for enshrining and give extra points. Otherwise, you have to sacrifice the supplies you find in game for your character, like the food items, since health items like bandages cannot be enshrined. You can upgrade your health, stamina, sanity, and onamari slots, with the onamari slots being the most expensive upgrade. Onamari are basically skill slots. Each onamari gives you a different skill or effect, ranging from increasing health items' effectiveness, increasing counter damage, and more. These are found throughout the game or can be acquired by spending faith points to draw a random one at save points. The price for drawing random onamaris increase every time you buy one though, and some can only be found in the overworld or exclusively on New Game Plus. There are various supplies which I mentioned could be enshrined. These supplies either increase health, stamina, or sanity, and can be either continuous or give health all at once. Of course, the items vary in effectiveness and speed of use depending on what the item is. Like for example, red and white capsules are fast to take, but heal very little, while medkits are slow to take, but heal a lot. There are lots of different pickups, which is why I'm not naming them all. They're usually medical items or specific food items, which ties into the setting of 60s rural Japan. There are also the items just for being enshrined, like the antique comb, which just give more faith points than average supplies. As mentioned before, save points have various functions other than saving, like the ability to pray to increase your skills with the emas and faith points, the ability to enshrine items for faith points. You can also clear your mind, which restores your sanity for faith points, as well as being able to change between costumes and being able to draw random onamaris for faith points. Save points are important, so take your time at each one. In the Dark Shrine sections, there are differences in the combat mechanics before the ritual, like the lack of durability, which is awesome. After the Fox Mask ritual, you get a bunch of abilities, but can only attack with the Fox Arm. The enemies in the Dark Shrine need their soul siphoned so they don't revive, unless you kill them in a room with a blue light. When you do siphon enemies' souls, it charges the bar for Hinako's special ability. Your arm grows huge and you do massive damage, and every enemy you kill when using the ability doesn't revive, so you can't soul siphon them. You also get an ability to go through walls with the Fox Mask, which you need to go through the shrine. These abilities are cool gimmicks, and once you get them, the Dark Shrine sections are a lot more bearable and fun. Now, there are a variety of enemies in the game to fight, all representing different things Hinako fears. So I'm going to give my interpretation of what each enemy represents. May not be right, but my opinion. So first off, we have the mannequin lady things, which I think represents how women become soulless after marriage, which Hinako seems to think. The Scarecrow enemies is a tricky one. I think it represents something along the same lines as the mannequin ladies, which is people becoming soulless or losing their identity, which is a central theme in the game. The Hulk-like monster represents Hinako's father and his abusive tendencies. The creep monster that pounces on you represents creeps in general. The other monster that's similar to the creep monster in the Dark Shrine represents, I think, abusive men, by how they crawl around and just hit and have this incredible rage. The vomiting monster represents alcoholics. The pregnant monsters represent Hinako's fear of giving birth. The enemy that looks like a bunch of child dolls mashed together represents something along the same lines as the pregnant monster, Hinako's fear of maybe raising a child instead of childbirth, though, specifically. And yeah, that's about it for the enemy representations. My favorite design is the pregnant monster by far. It looks disgusting, like 10 pregnant bellies, and it's constantly giving birth to like new enemies. It's crazy. The other one I really like is the creep monster, even though I find it annoying as hell. But yeah, it's just awesome. They really knocked it out the park with the enemy design in this game. It's among the best enemy design in the franchise. That brings me to my next point about enemies, which is that they can grab you if you aren't careful, and you can't do shit when you get grabbed. It's annoying as hell. Genuinely a terrible mechanic. I hate watching the same stupid animation every time I get grabbed, and the creep monster that pounces on you to grab you is by far the most annoying one. I wish you could get out of grabs since it's just annoying as hell. The boss design too is sick. The game can be extremely difficult though, depending on the difficulty you choose. I suggest story for anyone playing the game for the first time, since hard is bullshit, and enemies are just damage sponges. And hell, even on story the game is still pretty difficult. You need to be good at the combat to get through the game regardless. Of course, some enemies hit harder than others, and can be difficult to counter. When you are in a situation where you are fighting a group of enemies, you are probably gonna die. Finally, moving on from combat, I want to talk about the puzzles, overworld, and then go into New Game Plus. The puzzles in this game are so easy, I loved it. I didn't need a guide to figure out most of them, which I think is awesome. But I do understand that some people who are fans of the old games and actually like solving puzzles would find them to be lacking. The journal is helpful as well. It gives you so much useful info for the puzzles. I don't really have much to say otherwise, and most of the puzzles are just finding codes, finding items to get something, or doing a puzzle with a bunch of items to unlock a door. Just standard Silent Hill stuff, really. Moving on to the overworld and levels. I found the town map to be okay. It's linear with not a lot of stuff to do though. I enjoyed finding notes, supplies, and lore, but I didn't like how small the map was, and how little there is to really do. The school section and the section at Hinako's house were great. I enjoyed the puzzles, and they both felt the most reminiscent of the original Silent Hill games out of any other sections from the game. I did not like the Dark Shrine sections. They are just puzzle dungeons for the most part. I enjoyed the sections where Hinako metaphorically kills all of her friends, and the part where she has to do all the crazy rituals. Those are pretty cool. I wish the game had more locations. It feels short and lacking in content, especially when compared to Silent Hill 2 Remake. Upon visiting certain areas or encountering characters and enemies, you get journal entries too, which you can view anytime. Hinako's journal gives useful lore and context to the game, and I enjoyed reading it. Moving on, I want to talk about New Game Plus, since in my opinion, the game tries to make up for how short it is by encouraging replaying and getting all the endings. After you beat the game, you unlock New Game Plus. The game also allows you to see the conditions for getting other endings in the menu after beating the game for the first time, since you are locked into one ending for the first playthrough. I like how the game clearly outlines what to do for specific endings and points out how many endings there are. I wish Silent Hill 2 Remake did this. It's great. In New Game Plus, you carry over stat upgrades, journal entries, and onamaris, which is cool and reduces the difficulty of the game. New Game Plus in general is awesome. There's lots of extra content that makes the game worth replaying at least once, like additional journal entries giving more context and lore for the story, new areas to explore, new notes to pick up which give additional lore that is important, new cutscenes. The game shortens the Dark Shrine segments like the ritual section, changes to mechanics in the Dark Shrine. the Sacred Sword, and the ability to get new endings. The Sacred Sword is cool. It's basically a short side quest where you follow a ritual to get the Sacred Sword. You can also purify the sword to rid it of its evil. Purifying the sword is important for getting a specific ending, otherwise you can just use the sword without purifying it. The sword does massive damage and regenerates durability while not in use. The game also alters the mechanics in the Dark Shrine segments, making it so you can soul siphon multiple enemies at once, which is nice. You also get the Fox Mask abilities faster too. Aside from the additional content in New Game Plus, you get the ability to get different endings, which each have different boss fights. You have to beat the game 3 times for the true ending. It's worth it if you really enjoy the game. You get the Sacred Sword earlier in the 3rd playthrough if you did the side quest in a previous playthrough, which is cool. Otherwise, I think playing the game 2 times is enough. By the 3rd playthrough, there's minimal new content you got to do, like 1 or 2 things different to get the true ending, but it's really not much at all. I would have loved if the game was less built around replaying and just had more content in the first place. But as the game is, I still think it's good. There's a lack of extras too. You can get a lightsaber from doing the UFO ending, but otherwise the other endings don't give you any cool outfits or weapons, which is disappointing. It would have at least spiced the game up when replaying it, especially during the 3rd playthrough, since after playing the game multiple times, the combat and game in general gets real stale. It's an okay combat system for what it is, but boy it gets annoying, especially towards the end of the game when the game keeps throwing enemies at you. I hate fighting enemies in groups as well. It's not challenging in a fun way, it's challenging in an annoying way, which I think hurts the game. The difficulties above story I'd say are only worth it on New Game Plus to spice the game up, since you can carry over stat upgrades and all that, so the game gets easier. Otherwise, the combat system is okay, not special or amazing, and it can get very annoying after multiple playthroughs. The puzzles, enemy design, New Game Plus, and some of the sections were great though. This game fits into the Silent Hill franchise, but I think the combat system needs to be refined a lot, and that the game needed more content in general. Moving on, let's talk about the extras, which I already mentioned my thoughts on briefly. Moving on to extras, or unlockables, as I call them. There's not many cool unlockables in this game. It feels like they stripped out the unlockable outfits, which were a series tradition, and made the white costume a pre-order bonus and the pink bunny costume paid DLC. It's not a big loss though. The pink bunny costume looks stupid to me, but I like the white costume. I got it, but I didn't pre-order. Amazon just sent me a day 1 edition, which was cool. They absolutely should have added more unlockable outfits, at least since the game encourages replaying it a lot. And there's only 3 costumes currently. I'd say really the only unlockable was the lightsaber you get after you finish the game with the UFO ending. And even for that, you have to interact with an alien poster after getting the UFO ending once to get the lightsaber, so it doesn't stay in your inventory permanently, sadly. That's it for unlockables. Kind of a joke, to be honest. They absolutely should have had more to spice up the game on New Game Plus, especially since the game encourages you to get all the endings. What a missed opportunity. Moving on to the conclusion, all in all, I really enjoyed the story of the game. It was great, complex, and well done. I think it fits in the Silent Hill universe as well. The gameplay, though, was alright. It wasn't groundbreaking to me, and on subsequent playthroughs it started to become stale. The lack of unlockables and cool extras pissed me off too, since the game is so built around replayability, it's just a missed opportunity. I'd give Silent Hill F a 7 out of 10. Stay tuned for the next video on either Silent Hill 2 Remake or Silent Hill 1 for the PS1. Have a good one. Bye now.